So where I'm from in the South Bronx in New York, you got two options. You either play basketball or do a sport, or you sell drugs, be a gangster. I used to watch a lot of movies, Paid in Full, Scarface, Above the Rim. I used to watch all these gangster movies, and many of them took place in New York. So I said, hey, if they can do it, they can get away with it, they can live, they can have all this money, they can do all this crazy stuff, then hey, I can do the same thing as well. I never knew who my father was, but I heard a lot of stories about him, from him growing up as a kid, being a wild teenager, running through parks, shooting up parks, because in his area, he was known as that guy. So I felt like if I started to be that guy, if I portrayed that guy, maybe my father would love me. I got involved with the gang after, starting my own gang. I got involved with a gang. I can't say the name of it, but it's a big gang, not just in New York, but around in general. It's a big gang. Girls would come after me. I would have money. I was selling drugs. I was even giving my mother money for bills and stuff like that because I felt like I was that guy. The same thing I saw in the movies, I started to live. I had an argument with my mom, and we were like really arguing. She was telling me about coming to the church, changing my life before I die, and I like blew up on her like I never did before. I screamed at her, yelled at her, told her I don't want to serve God, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the church, I don't believe in the pastors, anything they preach. I was like, you know what, I don't care about this place. This church you go to, I don't really care about. I'm gonna live my life. Whether I die or not, I'm gonna live my life. There's someone that I'm gonna introduce to you guys. She's from a rival gang on the other side of the Bronx, but she's gonna be able to speak a little bit more about the gang life as well.
So I grew up in the Bronx, and basically I grew up with my mom, but she technically wasn't there because she will always be busy working, and she would be trying to provide for myself and my brother to make sure we had clothes on our back. I started to be really rebellious to the fact that I will always get into trouble at school. The teachers will always call my mom because I would be misbehaving, I wouldn't be doing my work, I would never do what I had to do. I'd be very disrespectful to the teachers. There was one time where I was on the train, and in New York City, in the Bronx, the trains would get really, really crowded because it would be rush hour and it would be a lot of people. So the train was crowded, and this lady bumped into me accidentally. And all she did was turn to look at me. And when she turned to look at me, I was already punching her in her face. We were there fighting on the train platform, and the lady was pregnant. If somebody bigger than me wanted to fight me, I would always have my knife with me in case I needed to protect myself, but I was never turning down a fight. I remember this one day where it was me and my friends. We were coming out one of my friends' house, and then we saw somebody from a rival gang. And we all wanted to go fight her, to go beat this girl up, but we realized that it was a setup. As we kept walking, it was a car full of guys from another neighborhood that we had problems with, and they were driving around chasing us. We had to run, literally, we had to run for our lives that day.
And I was just at a party. We was there sitting with girls, laughing, joking, playing around, drinking, smoking, all these things. And then it wasn't even my beef at that point. I was already trying to slowly get out of that type of lifestyle. And one of the guys came back with a double-barrel shotgun because he had an argument with one of the guys from my neighborhood earlier that day over his girlfriend, something really petty and really stupid now that I think about it. And when he came, he pulled the double-barrel shotgun because I looked like the guy. And he held the double-barrel shotgun right by my head. And when he shot, I heard the bullet I'll never forget until today. I heard the bullet go right past my face. At that point, I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. It was for me, I've been in a lot of scary moments, a lot of difficult moments, but that for me was the biggest scary moment because just a little, not even feet, a couple of inches over, and I would have been I would have been dead. So that for me was when I was you know what? I can't do it no more. Gotta get out of this life. I don't care how much money I have. I don't care how many girls I'm sleeping with. I don't care about nothing.
When I hit rock bottom, it was the fact that I was in multiple different relationships, and I felt like nobody could tell me anything. I could do what I want to do. Okay, guys could be out there having more than one female, having more than one girlfriend. So you know what? I'm going to be a player too. I'm going to date more than one guy at the same time. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting an STD. When I went to the doctor, to get rid of the STD. I took a pill, and that was like the first time that I really, really prayed on my own. I was like, God, if you're real, please, I pray that this thing goes away and that I don't have HIV, that I don't have AIDS.
When things started going wrong, I was like just fed up. I would sometimes sit up at the end of the bed like suicidal, depressed, because a lot of people I saw in my area that were living similar life to me or even worse, I started seeing them go to jail. My mom was already attending the church. And because I had so much pride, I had told my mom I would never go to the church. I didn't ask her about the church. I didn't ask her where the church was. I actually found it on my own. And then I started to go to like an earlier service, like without her telling me anything like that. Until one day my mother caught me. The same early service I went to, my mom went to because she had to go to work or something like that. And she saw me, and when she looked, she was just like really surprised. And then I was like really embarrassed. I'm like, man, I told my mother I would never go to this church. I hate this church. I don't believe in the pastor. Pretty much, I started seeing myself go all the time. I was going Wednesday, I was going Friday, I was going Sunday. At first, when I started going, I was sitting like all the way in the back, and I would just go just for the sake of going, because when you're in the street, you have this idea of, okay, as long as I go to church, I'm gonna be saved. So then I started like listening to the message the pastor was preaching. He was talking about, giving your life to God, not dying without salvation, not dying in a negative way and going to hell. And then it started to really like shake me up. So I started to see myself, instead of sitting all the way in the back on my phone, I would move up like each week, I would move up like closer and closer and closer until one day I found myself like sitting in the front of the church service and like actually like paying 100% attention.
I was walking down the street one day, and I was with 5 of my friends. And I remember joking with them saying, hey, let's go into the church. Let's go. It's the afternoon service. Let's just go stop by. I was joking with them. But that day I really ended up going inside. And then it seems like everything the pastor was talking about was for my life. That's what got me to continue going. But like, I would go to the Wednesday service, I would go to the Friday service for deliverance. And when I would receive the strong prayers, like, I would just cry.
And I started to change. I gave up on the smoking little by little, gave up on the drinking. The hardest thing for me was not even to give up on the selling drugs and things like that, but the hardest thing for me to give up on was being with a lot of women at once. As a kid, I attended many churches, many different religions and things like that, but I never knew exactly what the Holy Spirit was. Only when I started to come to the Universal Church and started to hear the pastor explain, if you don't have the Holy Spirit, you're still gonna wanna drink, you're still gonna wanna smoke. You can be in the church, but if you lack the Holy Spirit, sooner or later, you're gonna go back to the things that you used to do in the past. And every time the pastor would say these things, I would feel like he was talking directly to me. I started to ask the pastor after the services, how can I receive the Holy Spirit? I started to pray more, talk to God, and ask God, what did I have to do to receive the Holy Spirit? And God told me, more than what you did outside, more than the negative things you did for the devil, you have to do for me.
The temptation was completely gone. Like, I didn't even have the urge to get high anymore. I used to feel like I had to protect myself all the time, so I would carry my knife with me, or it was times where I would have the gun. But after a while, I realized, okay, God is protecting me now. I don't need this anymore.
I was so thirsty for the Holy Spirit. I even remember the day I received. I went to 3 services that day. I went to the 7 a.m. service, 10 a.m. service, and then I decided I was gonna go to 6 p.m. service. I remember like it was yesterday. I was very tired because I woke up early to go to church. I had walked to church because I didn't have a car or anything like that. I walked to church early that morning, Sunday, and I went to 3 services. In the 6 p.m. service, I was really, really tired, but I put my desires aside to sleep, to be lazy in the service. And I said, God, you know what? If I didn't receive the Holy Spirit 7 a.m., if I didn't receive 10 a.m., I'm gonna receive tonight. I'm not gonna leave this service without receiving the Holy Spirit. So we were seeking the Holy Spirit. The bishop allowed us to seek the Holy Spirit. Said, listen, you're gonna have your moment with God. Talk to him and tell him that you want his spirit. That moment, I blocked out everybody else in the service. There were other people there, but I made that few minutes, that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it was, I made that time to be like, I had to receive the Holy Spirit. I had to have a relationship with God. And in that 10 minutes, I received the Holy Spirit, and it was like the most glorious day ever in my life. I was just like happy. I had a unexplainable joy, happiness. I was ready to speak to anybody about God, evangelize, give newspapers. And I wanted to do something else to help other people because I had did so much wrong in life.
I heard about the Holy Spirit when the pastor would speak about it during the church service, like in the Wednesday night services. He would talk about, now seek the Holy Spirit, seek the Holy Spirit. And I'll be there like, what's the Holy Spirit? But he continued to explain it and explain the fact that once you have the Holy Spirit, you won't be empty. His Spirit fills you. The Spirit of God fills you, and you'll have peace. And I heard about this and I said, you know what? I want this peace. It was a Sunday morning where I was there seeking the Holy Spirit, and then I received it. I could have never imagined the peace that they were talking about when I heard the pastor speaking about it. But when I received the Holy Spirit, indeed, it was like, wow, okay, my life truly changed.
So after coming to the church, attending the love therapy and attending the other services, I was able to finally meet somebody inside of the church. Someone that used to be my rival, now she's my wife.
I would have never imagined that I would have been with him, especially because we're from like two different parts of the Bronx. We're from two different neighborhoods. So it's just God himself.
So today, as I used to go into communities to destroy communities, I used to go to schools to fight people, to beat up people, and even cut school. Now I go to the schools to help the youth, for them to know the right way to go. And we even both together, we go to the schools, we go to communities to reach out to the youth and to show them the right path.
Thing that we used to do for the devil before, now we do so much more for God. The same way we used to do things to ruin people's lives, now we help to save people's lives.
We used to be rivals,
But God made us one.